I'll start off by saying you're tuned into 91.3 WVKR, independent radio, Poughkeepsie, New York. I'm your host, Rita Ryan, here with LocalMotion each and every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Today, we welcome Alexander Platt, music director of Maverick Concerts in Woodstock. Let's get him on the line. Alexander?
Yes, Rita.
Yes, hi. Thank you for being here today.
Sure thing, Rita.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to do a brief introduction to the listeners, if I may, and I'll start off by saying music director, conductor, curator Alexander Platt has built a unique career spanning the worlds of symphony, chamber music, and opera. He is the music director of several symphony orchestras and spends his summer as the music director for the historic Maverick Concerts in Woodstock. Maverick is the oldest summer chamber music festival in the U.S., and it's been a trying time for the arts industry, including Maverick Concerts. There are several programs this season that are coming up, including the Fred Hirsch Jazz Trio on Saturday, September 4th, which we'll be giving away a pair of tickets to after this conversation. And with that, a warm welcome to LocalMotion, Alexander Platt.
Thank you, Rita. Great to be here.
You're quite welcome. I've been in the Hudson Valley for decades and discovered Maverick quite a few years ago. It is just one of the most beautiful places and such a hidden gem in the Hudson Valley that I talk about it as often as I can. It truly is. It truly is something. I'd like to go back and delve a little bit into your extraordinary career. Alexander, where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in another, like Woodstock, another great historic community for the arts. I grew up in Westport, Connecticut, which was then really kind of in its heyday as a kind of a cultural haven for people who wanted easy access to New York City. So I often say, it's funny, I also run a chamber music and jazz series at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Westport to this day. And just the other weekend, we were hosting a brilliant young jazz vocalist who I actually want to bring up to the Maverick soon, Samara Joy, who is one, you probably know her name, Samara Joy McLendon, who's one of these bright young things out of jazz at Lincoln Center. And I was talking with the daughter of Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, and saying about how, as a teenage grocery store stock boy, I literally sold fruits and vegetables to Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward. So it was that kind of community. So I was very, very blessed with an amazing kind of daily arts education. And from there, I kind of took a circuitous route to Cambridge, England, and then started about 28 years ago, started working as a conductor in the Midwest, in the Twin Cities and Chicago. And then 19 years ago, just kind of fell into being music director of the Maverick Concerts, which at that point was just about exclusively a Sunday afternoon classical music chamber music festival, and was, as it still is, kind of the Sunday shrine to the string quartet. But I immediately wanted to branch out into having the Maverick also present concerts on Saturday evenings as well, because, as you know, Woodstock has this unique and festive spirit, and the Maverick Concerts actually goes all the way back to something called the Maverick Art Colony in 1905. And so that kind of very turn of the century, it's the pre-Woodstock Woodstock that most people still don't know about. It's that kind of turn of the century, very utopian, bacchanalian spirit, very free-thinking and spirit, and where I know I'm kind of charmed when you use the phrase "a hidden gem" about the Maverick. I think I'm at the point in life where I'd appreciate it if it were a little less hidden.
Right.
I'm hoping we can just get to the point where it's just a gem.
It's just a gem. Right.
Just a gem. But thanks to people like you, hopefully that's also changing. So the Maverick has been for the last 20 years more eclectic in its offerings, and I'm very proud to say, I admit, still a neophyte to the world of jazz, that we have been presenting over the last few years some of the greatest names in jazz. We've had Bill Charlap and his trio, Carl Berger and Ingrid Sertso, who are legendary Woodstock residents.
Yes.
We just, this past Saturday night, had a return appearance for the brilliant young Mr. Christian Sands and his trio. And then on Saturday, September 4th, the Saturday of Labor Day weekend, we're going to welcome back truly one of our dear old friends and one of the great, an artist who's become one of the perennials of the Maverick. It's, as you know, Mr. Fred Hirsch.
Yes.
And his trio. So, and actually, it occurs to me that we've had Fred, at least half a dozen times over the last decade. And we've had him as a solo jazz pianist. We've had him in duos with kind of amazing up and coming artists like Julian Lage and Gilad Hexelman. But this is going to be the first appearance of Fred Hirsch with his trio, just the traditional jazz trio. And we've never had Fred in that context with the Mavericks, so it's really, really exciting.
Very exciting. I do have to share with you, Alexander, during my 4 o'clock hour, the first hour here, last week I had given away a pair of tickets to a lucky listener for Christian Sands, and that listener called me back today saying how wonderful a time he had and how wonderful the music was. He'd never been to Maverick before and discovered it and was so excited. He actually called me back and remembered to call me back during my time slot here. So,
wow.
So it's pretty impressive. Great. And that's the kind of effect that I feel the Maverick has on people. It's just...
It really is. It's a truly unique space. It's quite literally just a chapel in the woods located 3 or 4 minutes outside of the village of Woodstock itself, and people are always stunned when I always because part of my job as music director is to kind of stand at the threshold within the parking lot and welcome people, and most often it's kind of people I've gotten to know for years, but we do have every concert quite a few new faces, and they always have this kind of look. They're stunned at what they see, and aside from the addition of, I'm very proud to say, eco-friendly washrooms and now advanced ticketing, which is especially important because of COVID.
Yes.
They're literally getting the same experience they would have had in 1916.
Yeah.
And with, better lighting, slightly better lighting. And so people, I think we've been doing very well at the box office this summer. I think that's because in general people have this, unrequited thirst to be part of live performance again. But
Maverick didn't have a season last year. Did you have a season last year? Nothing.
We did not. No, we did not. We tried some virtual things, and we, like everyone, and as everyone realized with the virtual experience, ultimately there's no replacement for live performance. And Rita, you've been in this game long enough to know that over the last 10 or 15 years, it became very fashionable for people to say, as a classical musician, I'll just say, people would just say to me, well, sooner, or later, no one's going to go to hear orchestras anymore because you're going to be able to get, a hologram of the New York Philharmonic in your living room. And to which I now say, want to bet?
Right.
Because there's still and I've been saying this for years, there's no replacement for live performance in which, as you know, the audience is a participatory partner. The audience is literally taking part in the performance.
Absolutely.
And one of the very few blessings of this horrible catastrophe of COVID-19 is it's made everyone realize that is a fact. That's not like a feel-good thing where you're fundraising and say, well, there's nothing like live performance. It's true. There's literally nothing like live performance, and there never will be anything.
And you don't really realize it. You always say it, but then when it gets taken away from you so abruptly, you really now mean it. You really know what it is. and to feel that
exactly.
again, and just, I mean, especially with an orchestra, with all the people and just everything, it's just wonderful. It really, it's lovely to be able to see. And I just finally saw an orchestra at the Fisher Center a few weeks ago for their Summerscape, and it's just great to have live music back, and to have the classical. Now, as we know, Maverick is well known for their chamber orchestras. How do you find the acts that you do? Because they're really world-class musicians. How do you get them to Maverick?
Well, that's something that just a kind of a skill one learns over the years, because we have traditionally had one chamber orchestra concert, which I'm very flattered to say is kind of due to the largesse of our board and of a couple of very special donors. But generally on Sunday afternoons, it's really chamber ensembles. It's string quartets, piano trios, and so, ensembles of, say, 3 or 4, maybe 5 people. And that's just something, having kind of the nose for talent in that regard is just something one hones over the years. I was a neophyte in the world of chamber music, with albeit a bit more background than jazz, 20 years ago, but it's just by spending a lot of time getting to know a lot of musicians all over the country and all over the world, because pre-COVID we would also, and I think post-COVID, we also 2 or 3 times a year have a great string quartet from Europe or a great piano trio from Europe. So it's just, it's that's why I've never, again, I'm still like a fervent novice in the world of jazz, but I can confidently say that ultimately it's again having a nose for talent. And that jazz is really a great jazz artist like a Mr. Christian Sands or a Mr. Fred Hirsch. It's literally, it is no different from the immortal line of the great European conductor George Zell, who has that legendary tenure as the music director of the Cleveland Orchestra, who said that you can, with it, when you're looking at a young conductor, in about 20 or 30 seconds whether that person has actual talent. And with jazz artists, it's the same thing, because as you know, jazz is ultimately kind of an American form of classical music. It is a form of classical music. Mm-hmm. And in about I know literally in about 30 to 60 seconds whether a jazz artist really knows what they're doing.
Right.
It's ultimately the same thing.
Right.
It's just the same thing. So it's just time, really. Hopefully some talent as well.
Right.
But time, just getting to know artists and searching them out.
Yeah, I mean, it's your world. You're the music director for quite a few different symphonies, so it is definitely, it becomes a smaller world too. My daughter is training classically as a violinist in college, and same thing. You start recognizing, like, I always show her your season at Maverick. I'm like, who should I go see after she's away in school? And she says, oh, check these guys out. So you just, I guess in that world, you all start learning from each other. And,
This is true. This is true.
This is
true. But I mean, sitting in the first half of Christian Sands' concert jazz program at the Maverick last Saturday, I mean, the first half, it was just an experience of pure chamber music. It just happened to be jazz, and it was this amazing jazz artistry, but it was pure. It was no different from a string quartet from Paris, France. It was just great, genius chamber music, and that's why I love it.
Yeah.
That's why I love it.
Yeah, it's beautiful. This weekend, on Sunday the 29th, you have the Catalyst Quartet with Daniel Gortler on piano.
Yes, Daniel Gortler, a great and idiosyncratic Israeli pianist who's just a unique artist. And the Catalyst Quartet, the Catalyst String Quartet, are this kind of, if like the day after Fred Hirsch, on Sunday, September 5th, we have the Borromeo String Quartet from Boston, who are really like these elder statesmen of the string quartet in America, these great revered artists in mid-career. The Catalyst String Quartet is one of these great trailblazing American string quartets, and they're focusing now, particularly now, on marginalized composers of color. And so the whole first half is going to be these fascinating works, just by African-American composers who are just really being discovered now. And then the second half is going to be the immortal piano quintet of Antonin Dvorak, who, with the New World Symphony and his storied 3-year sojourn in America, really literally taught Americans how to start having their own culture of classical music. So I think another great program.
Another great program. And that's this Sunday, the 29th, with the Catalyst Quartet. And then you have the jazz piano, of course, on Labor Day weekend with Fred Hirsch Trio. And that Sunday, the Borromeo String Quartet. And then you have a Maverick debut on the 12th of September with the Cavani String Quartet. Tell us about that.
Well, that's literally an example of what you just referenced, of people listening to each other and getting to know each other. The Cavani String Quartet, as I've kind of literally made my career in the upper Midwest, which is this often underrated, complicated part of our country, but in rich in cultural musical traditions. The Cavani String Quartet was for many years the resident quartet at the Cleveland Institute of Music.
Oh, yeah.
We often forget it. One of the major top 10 American schools of music. And I know them because of my Midwestern orchestras, and the cellist of that ensemble was for several years principal cellist with one of my beloved orchestras in Wisconsin, and so that's how I got to know them. And he actually, very enterprising young gentleman named Kyle Price, he and his friends in their now late 20s, early 30s, have literally started. They have done their own version of the folks who founded the Maverick concerts in 1916. They have started their own summer music festival at Caroga Lake, which is nestled up in the Adirondacks. So Kyle is like my spiritual younger brother, and he's like started this, and so he's now the cellist in the Cavani String Quartet. So they're coming down. They're going to end our season on Sunday, September 12th, with another kind of a musical talisman of American music by Dvorak, the American String Quartet. And then they're going to, before that, do this fascinating work by a living composer whose music we're celebrating this year. He's now has been for many years a resident of Rhinebeck, Darren Hagen, and he wrote this exquisite quintet for string quartet and the koto, the Japanese koto, which is like to call it a Japanese guitar really isn't really accurate, but it's this plucked stringed instrument that is the great classical music instrument of Japan. And Darren wrote this exquisite quintet for koto and string quartet, and Yumi Kurosawa will be making her debut at the Maverick as a virtuoso of the koto. It's this exquisite work called Genji, Genji. So that's going to be I think a really beautiful way to wrap up our post-COVID emergent season at the Maverick.
Yeah. It sounds like it's going to be a lovely concert. Their debut and the ending of this wonderful season that you have. I'm guessing. How do you prepare for next year? When, like right out September 13th, or how does that work?
Well, no, I mean September 13th. I got to drive back to the Midwest, but it will be in October, November. Lord willing, we continue to dig our way out of COVID, and our dream, of course, is to go back to a regular season of not only a full summer of Sunday afternoons, but more Saturday night concerts, more jazz. Also, we've developed a small but very treasurable tradition of having world music artists at the Maverick. We've had for many years he's a resident of Greater Woodstock, the Indian music master Steve Gorn, and his evening of ragas with usually 2 or 3 gentlemen friends of his who are actually from India. And that's been amazing. We've had the great Brazilian Latin jazz artist Nilson Mata and his trio come to the Maverick twice with great success. And so we're really hoping and praying that we'll be back to a more of a full complement on Saturday evenings of this kind of eclectic repertoire. And I'm proud to say that we now finally we have a bar on for the Saturday night concert.
I saw
So
that.
you
How
get a
wonderful
drink.
is that?
Yeah, it's really adorable. It's really great. I've only been waiting about 19 years for that to happen.
Better late than
So,
never, Alexander. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And in the jazz, it's not the way we're not in the jazz tradition. The way we have to ask our jazz artists to be classical, if you will, is that we can't do we'd love to do the typical jazz tradition of the 90-minute set where you can bring your drink into the room, and we just can't do that because we've got this 1916 building with like a 1916 floor. That's we just can't. It's very difficult to clean it and all that. So we just have an intermission. It's like a classical concert, and people can enjoy themselves before the concert and during the intermission, and then they go back into as our founder, Hervey White, not inaccurately called it, our music chapel,
yes,
to hear some great jazz artistry.
Talk about the Maverick Horse, if you would, please.
Oh, well, the Maverick Horse, that's what also stuns people when they enter the room itself. On stage right of our beautiful, simple little stage is this extraordinary sculpture. I think it must be about at least 12 feet high.
I think it's 18, according to the website.
Okay, yeah, it's I'm losing my sense of height. It's this massive sculpture on the corner of stage right of a horse, and it is people are always stunned, what on earth is that? And that is the Maverick Horse, and it's a sculpture that was created in the mid-1920s by one of these great legendary Woodstock artists. Again, the pre-Woodstock sculptor who loved to work in wood, named John Flanagan. And for many, many years, the Maverick Horse, again, this is the old Woodstock, it just unpretentiously stood at the end of the driveway to the Maverick Concert Hall, the driveway just off Maverick Road. And you can imagine how decades of the assault of wind and weather did to this exquisite work of art. And it was finally brought inside the hall, and it was restored under the guidance of one of the people who hired me, one of our emerita chairpersons, Cornelia Rosenblum, who's lived really her whole life in Woodstock. It was brought into the hall and lovingly restored and placed on a stone plinth where it now permanently resides. And the Maverick Horse, that's where the phrase Maverick, of course, comes from, that he reigns over our musical ceremonials. And in recent years, he's had to, get a little more eclectic in his taste. It's not just Beethoven now,
right?
But I think he's having a great time lording over the festivities.
I'm sure he is. It's always, and what's really great about it too, the photography. I always take a picture before the show or something, and you just get such great shadows from that, and you always have beautiful flowers out, and it's just a very cozy, intimate place, and that makes it feel like home to the Maverick statue there. So great job in preserving that, and yeah. I also, before I let you go, I would like to talk, and I want to thank you first of all for the safety protocols that you have put in place. If you would share that with the listeners here, when people attend a concert, what is it that you are asking of them?
I'm so glad you asked, because we're really just doing our best to keep everyone safe at the Maverick. It's very, very straightforward. When you arrive at the hall, you must have proof of vaccination to enter the premises, whether you're sitting indoors or outdoors on the beautiful benches we have, just literally outside of the hall proper, which is also a great place to experience the music if the weather cooperates. We cannot let anyone on the premises unless they're vaccinated, which means that if you, I'm sad to say, if you have a child who has not been vaccinated, that child, unfortunately, this summer is not allowed onto the premises too. So we really deeply regret that, and it's not a pleasure to tell people. We occasionally get a young family, and we just cannot have anyone unvaccinated, no matter their age, on the premises.
Too great a risk to take.
When we all have to do our part to make sure that I've never been more honest in saying that we have to do our part to make sure that we do not have to go through this next year.
Correct. Absolutely.
So that's why. So it's very simple, and then you get you just show your vaccination card to one of our ushers, and they give you a little green wristband, and you're good to go.
Good. And I believe inside the hall you also have to be masked, correct?
Oh, forgive me. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much. Now, indoors, you have to wear a mask. Outdoors, you do not have to. We can recommend it, but it's not mandatory. But inside the hall, yes, you do have to wear a mask.
Okay, beautiful. And by doing this, thank you for an avid music-going experience, because I go see live music every week, and this is my prerequisite for me to go anywhere. I can only go places that have this policy, because we have to stay safe, and if we don't, this will never go away, and music will never come back. So.
Exactly, and then the third thing of the three vital things is that all the tickets are advance sale. So you can buy your ticket now on maverickconcerts.org, our terrific website, and you will you can do it with your phone. You show the usher, our volunteers, your ticket, and then you show them your vaccination card, and then inside the hall you need to wear a mask. But people have gotten used to it, and they're fine.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing, and it's a safety measure I commend you for taking. So that's a good thing. And now you can enjoy a nice glass of wine at the little cart that you have there as well.
Exactly. We are going to have a bar. We'll have a bar for Fred Hirsch.
Right. Yeah.
His trio of John Hebert and Eric McPherson. It's just one of the great jazz trios in America, and I just urge everyone to go to maverickconcerts.org and get their tickets, notwithstanding the lucky pair who may win a pair of tickets.
Momentarily, I'm getting excited.
Momentarily.
Yeah, I'm going to play a track of Fred Hirsch's, and then I'm going to give away a pair of tickets, and I'm excited about attending the show. I look forward to seeing you there. And
thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Maverickconcerts.org. It really is quite a special website. A lot of history on there. Anything you need to know, past performances, upcoming performances, maverickconcerts.org. You're a nonprofit organization. Donations help, tickets help. Supporting music during this time is more important than ever. Consider donations, and they're always gratefully accepted. So I thank you, Alexander, and you have quite a bio. If anybody is interested in learning more about you, your website is alexanderplatt.com. You're the music director here for 19 years at Maverick Concerts. I wholeheartedly thank you for your time here today, and I look forward to seeing you Labor Day weekend for Fred Hirsch.
Thank you, Rita. I'll see you Labor Day weekend.
Okay, sounds good. Stay safe and be well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Of
Bye-bye.
course. Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Alexander Platt, 91.3 WVKR. It is 5:36 p.m. He has quite an impressive bio. He's the music director for several symphony orchestras and spends his summers here in Woodstock being the music director for maverickconcerts.org. If you're not familiar with that venue, if you like jazz, if you like classical, it's a place you cannot not know about. It's just wonderful. I do have a pair of tickets to give away to one very lucky listeners. If you were listening to the show earlier, I said I gave away a pair of tickets to Maverick last week for Christian Sands, and the winner actually called me back today and said what a wonderful time they had seeing the show at Maverick last weekend. So now I'm going to give away a pair of tickets to see Fred Hirsch Trio at Maverick Concerts in Woodstock on Saturday, September 4th. I will ask that you are 21 years old, and I will ask that you must know this. Only fully vaccinated ticket holders with proof of ID will be admitted to the grounds. You need to show a proof of vaccination, which is defined as 2 weeks after the second dose of either Pfizer and Moderna or 2 weeks after the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Proof of vaccination requires providing at the time of entry either the New York State Excelsior Pass or your COVID-19 vaccination record card. As of this past August 15th, wearing of masks will be mandatory inside the hall and recommended outside. This is obviously for safety measures for everyone. So if you are vaccinated, if you're over 21 and you want to go to Woodstock on Saturday, September 4th to see Fred Hirsch along with John Hebert on bass and Eric McPherson on drums, you can give a call here at 845-437-7178. One pair of tickets to one lucky listener at 845-437-7178. Here's what is said about Fred Hirsch. A select member of jazz piano's pantheon, Fred Hirsch is a pervasively influential creative force who has shaped the music's course over more than 3 decades as an improviser, composer, educator, band leader, collaborator, and recording artist. He has been proclaimed the most arrestingly innovative pianist in jazz over the last decade by Vanity Fair. An elegant force of musical invention by the LA Times, and a living legend by the New Yorker. Fred Hirsch Trio at Maverick Concerts, Saturday, September 4th. That's Labor Day weekend. The show is at 8 p.m. And you just want to give a call here at 845-437-7178. You and a friend are going to go check out Fred Hirsch at Maverick Concerts. Let's play some Fred Hirsch now, right here on 91.3 WVKR. This song you might recognize because it was written by the one and only legendary Joni Mitchell. Let's take a listen right now to Fred Hirsch. And if you'd like to go see the music, just give a call at 845-437-7178. And let's take a listen. 91.3. 91.3 WVKR, Fred Hirsch doing the Joni Mitchell song, Both Sides Now. Exquisite. I still have a pair of tickets up for grabs if somebody wants to give me a call. The show at Maverick Concerts is Labor Day weekend, which is Saturday, September 4th. It is a requirement that you're fully vaccinated and you need to show proof of ID and be 21 years old. Other than that, you're going to enjoy one heck of an exquisite show with Fred Hirsch Trio. Fred Hirsch on piano, John Hebert on bass, Eric McPherson on drums. You can give a call right here, right now to 845-437-7178. If you would like to go to this show, please be 21. Please be available to go to the show on Saturday, September 4th. 845-437-7178. I'm going to play a track now from the Quartet who's going to be at Maverick this Sunday. Let's take a listen right now to Catalyst Quartet on 91.3 WVKR. 91.3 WVKR. Oh, beautiful version of Where Have All the Flowers Gone? Of course, made famous by Pete Seeger. That was the Catalyst Quartet, who will be performing at Maverick Concerts this Sunday, the 29th. Catalyst Quartet. And congratulations to Carl. Carl is the lucky winner of a pair of tickets to see Fred Hirsch Trio at Maverick Concerts on Saturday, September 4th, which is Labor Day weekend. And tickets are still available for concerts at Maverick. You can go to maverickconcerts.org. And congratulations to Carl. And thank you for listening, Carl, and enjoy the show. I will look forward to seeing you there. It's that time of the show when we do musical happenings in and around the Hudson Valley. Please be advised, all these venues have safety protocol. So what that means is proof of vax or negative COVID test and a mask. So here's what we got going on, starting at Bardavon, bardavon.org. The Trombone Shorty show has been rescheduled to September 26th due to Sunday's hurricane. Also on September 25th, Dispatch. And October 16th, David Sedaris. November 13th, Patti Smith at Bardavon. Bearsville Theater in Woodstock, also bearsvilletheater.com. Every Saturday is the Americana Barbecue Series and Jazz Brunch every Sunday from 11 to 3 at Bearsville. This Friday, NRBQ, and September 10th is Steve Earle's solo. City Winery, Hudson Valley in Montgomery. Also info at citywinery.com/Hudson Valley. Martin Sexton from August 22nd date now rescheduled for Sunday, September 12. August 29th is Sandra Bernhardt. September 11th, The Wait. September 26th, Spin Doctors. Colony in Woodstock, colonywoodstock.com. Outdoor Beer Garden, open Mondays and then again Thursday through Friday. Check their Facebook and website for events. They have 3 or 4 lineup every day. Grand Cru, Route 308 in Rhinebeck and grandcrurhinebeck.com. This Friday, Carl Allwire. The Falcon in Marlborough and live at thefalcon.com. Tomorrow is Arlen Roth and the PayPals. Friday, Chris Berkson solo and trio. And Sunday is the Klezmatics, and Saturday is now Papa Chubby. Jazz Forum in Tarrytown, also info at jazzforumarts.org. Friday and Saturday, 2 shows each night at 7 and 9:30 featuring Julius Rodriguez Quintet. Jazzstock in Senate Garage in Kingston, info at jazzstock.com. Sharp 5 album release show on September 23rd with Terry Roiger, John Menegon, Pete Levin, Jeff Siegel, and Nanny Assis. Levon Helm Studio in Woodstock, also levonhelm.com. August 30th, Emily King. September 3, Joe Pug. September 10th, His Golden Messenger solo. September 11th, Scott Sherrard and the Rust Belt Band with opener James Maddock. Lydia's Cafe in Stone Ridge and lydiascafe.com. This Saturday, the 28th, is jazz music on the patio with the Professors. Maverick Concerts in Woodstock and info at maverickconcerts.org. This Sunday, the 29th, Catalyst Quartet. Saturday, September 4th, Fred Hirsch Trio. Sunday, September 5th, Borromeo String Quartet. September 12th at Cavani String Quartet. Town Crier in Beacon and towncrier.com. Every Thursday, open mic. Friday, Morale Coriel Band featuring Cindy Cashdollar on the main stage. Saturday on the main stage at Town Crier, the Slambovian Circus of Dreams. Sunday brunch with Dan Stevens and Sunday evening with Felix Cabrera Band. Westwind Orchard in Accord and westwindorchard.com. This Saturday, the 28th, Anatole Trio. September 4th with Dan Levine and Friends. Last but not least, Woodstock Film Festival is back this year, September 29th through October 3rd. Info at woodstockfilmfestival.org. And that does it for me. I'm going to leave you out with a track by Brian Mitchell, who is going to be my guest next week on the show. In 2 weeks from today, we have Pledge Drive. We're going to be asking for the community to support us with whatever pledge you can, $5, $10, $1,000, whatever it is you can afford. We will happily be grateful for whatever you can afford. In 3 weeks, Dan Levine will be my guest. Jorma Kaukonen on the 22nd. Danny Lewis from Government Mule on the 29th. We've got an exciting September ahead, and I'll look forward to talking with Brian Mitchell, who has a brand new release out called Songs from the Lower East Side. Going to